Welcome to the Imperfect Dads podcast.
I'm Justin.
And I'm Devin.
We believe dads care deeply about their family and kids,
but they don't always have a space to discuss what their life looks like.
Our podcast is a space for dads to discuss the ups and downs of fatherhood.
And how they feel like they're holding it all together.
Or how they're not.
Thank you for joining us for this episode. On this episode, we have on Matt Ragland. Matt has a YouTube channel, a podcast, and a newsletter focused on productivity and building better habits. We talked about being a Florida sports fan, taking his son to a national championship game, getting a bigger car for all of his kids, learning all of his kids' personalities, their move from Nashville to Florida, and setting your priorities when you become a parent. And also just like one more thing.
Dad, just start the episode.
Oh, my bad. Hey, Matt, welcome to an episode of The Imperfect Dads. Thanks for coming on with us.
I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me, Devin. Justin, pleasure.
Thank
Of
you.
course.
Thank you.
Let's do just some basics. Matt, tell us how many kids you have, ages, all that good stuff.
Yeah, well, in the pre-show, I was like, is that kid 2 or 3? So I've got 4 kids, which I never thought really that I would say that. Growing up, I always wanted kids, but I'm the oldest of 5. And so I remember being like 10 or 11 or something and being like, 5's a lot of kids.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so to have 4, and really, like, to be honest, if we had started a little earlier, we probably would have 5. So
Oh my
just
gosh.
wild. I mean, I guess you just kind of end up, repeating what your parents do, but I digress. Their ages are 10, 6.5. He's very emphatic. When you're young, you have to put the half in. He's like 6.5, Dad, and a half. And then there's the 3-year-old that I thought might be a 2-year-old, but he's a 3-year-old. And then yesterday, our baby girl, our daughter, so it's 3 boys, and then little princess just turned 1. So those are
awesome.
the ages. That's the number of kids.
Do you have a minivan or do you have a passenger van? Like, how do you get all these kids around?
Yeah, we're a minivan. We
Okay.
haven't quite. I have looked at passenger vans. I'm not
Really?
against them. I'm not against them. I do really, when you have this many kids, the minivan, I mean, the sliding doors are just such a game changer. You're not like opening those things and like, am I going to hit somebody? It's just like, it's so smooth. I will say, like, the first minivan we had was this old Honda Odyssey, and really too old, but we didn't really have the budget for a newer van, and I just wanted to pay for something and not have a car payment. So I got this van, and after, like, it lasted us 2 solid years, but then we were having trouble with the sliding door, and the sliding door fell off one time. Just like not entirely, but like enough that if a kid was nearby, it would have caused a lot of damage. And it was like, well, I guess we are going to have a car payment now. So the sliding door can be a hazard. So I opened it, and it had been, anything mechanical like that. For a couple of weeks, it had been like, it'll like shudder along.
Yeah.
Like the cable was like, I guess not quite taut enough, or the motor was like running. And as like, eventually that cable like just snapped as it was opening. So it's just like going stuff, and it all fell over. And thankfully we were at home.
Yeah.
But yeah, we did not go to the YMCA that day.
No. I had that happen with a window once, like the driver window, just the whatever cable is in it, just snapped and the window you're driving and you just look over the window, just starts going. And you're just like, that's not, I can't not fit. Also, like, it's not something, it's not like a cosmetic thing. It's not like your bumper got dinged and you can put duct tape on it. It's like, no,
Right.
I kind of need my door to stay closed whenever I
You
drive
definitely
with my
need the door to
children
stay
inside
closed.
of
I
it.
will say, like, my dad, when in our family minivan days, he had a similar thing happen. We had a similar thing happen in his car, and like the window it wasn't necessarily smashed or anything. It just wouldn't go back up. And I'm sure he went to the, mechanic, and he's like, yeah, $300 to fix this. And he's like, I don't have $300.
Yep.
Because our parents, like, credit card, my parents used credit cards a little bit, but they were not like used as much as they are now. Now it's kind of just like, well, I mean, I don't have the money for this, but I have credit card money and I'll
Yep.
figure it out in a couple of months or not.
Or,
And so like back then, my dad was like, "Well, I don't have $300," and he just like duct taped a plastic bag,
yep.
a clear one, of course, so you can
Like,
kind
yeah.
of see through when you're
Mhm.
passing people. And he did that for, I guess, a few months until he got another client and had 300 extra bucks. And he's like, "I got to work late." Because I was like, "Okay, Dad, I get it."
Yeah, that's fine. We now also have like, I don't know what credit cards were like in the 90s because, we didn't have one. But like now you have all the rewards points also. So it's like,
Mhm.
okay, cool. I'll just work
Yeah,
the
you gotta get,
rewards game. It'll be
yeah.
different. It'll be fine.
Yeah, I don't think it was quite as much of a rewards game it is now, which is really just like for me a lie to be like, oh, I'm going to use these eventually, and so it's okay to like spend
Yeah.
a little bit more right now
Yeah.
because you're getting points. There's
Of course.
points.
We had we built like a wall like in our basement or something like that, or did some drywall work. And one of the contractors was willing to let us use a credit card instead of a check or Venmo. And I was like, yes, 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 yes,
Nice.
yes, yes, yes. And
Yeah, for sure.
we're talking like $50 in rewards points. Like it's not life-changing money, but it does mean we went to McDonald's one time in the past month. That's basically, and didn't pay for it.
Yeah, I will say like I had a big credit card. I had two big credit card wins because I hadn't really even used points. Like
Yeah.
my wife is not a big flyer regardless, and so like post COVID especially, she's been on a plane once, maybe twice.
Okay.
And so we haven't been using like, and having all these kids,
Mhm.
vacations have gotten up there. But I will say like we did two things just this year that like basically 4 years of credit card point accumulation mostly paid off for. I took my 10-year-old to, so I went to University of Florida. I took my 10-year-old to the national championship game, like on a whim, like in
Cool.
San Antonio. So we used
Yeah.
points for the flight and the hotel. And then the other thing that's happening in a couple of weeks, big husband win, is I booked my wife's hotel. It's like she goes on a girls' trip every year.
Mhm.
And I booked her hotel at the resort in Amelia Island with
Cool.
points. And so I'm like, don't worry about this, babe. Got it all covered. Got it all
Nice.
covered. And she's like, did you
Dude.
use points? Like, of course I use points.
That's
And like
awesome.
we haven't used points for 3 years basically, and now
Yep.
they're all gone, but
Yeah.
used very well.
That's awesome. That's awesome that you got to go to the Florida Houston National Championship game this year.
Yeah, so I went. I
That's
mean,
cool.
like, what a man!
That's cool.
When I was a senior at Florida when they won the first title in 2006. So we road tripped up from Gainesville to Indianapolis, and so yeah, to be able to take to be able to go, period, and then to be able to take my son was quite the event.
You big basketball and football fan, or just basketball in general? For
Yeah,
Florida.
I mean, growing up in the South, it's kind of a prereq that you're more of a football fan, and that's definitely the case for me. It'd probably be an interesting question. Like, not every SEC school cares about basketball the way that, say, like maybe Kentucky, of course, Kentucky, Florida, Tennessee, and Arkansas. I would say are probably the four that care the most. But how many basketball championships would you trade for one football national championship? And I would probably say like maybe three. Like if I knew that we could win three, maybe not three. Three
Hmm.
might 2.5 is the over under. Like
Yeah.
if you could win three natties in basketball in the next 10 years or one football, what would you do? I think almost like maybe even three is still too low.
Well, I mean, I'm from Indiana, so like it's always basketball.
Sure.
Justin
Yeah.
went to Kentucky for college, so I'm sure Justin, it's basketball. Where it's like, of course it's basketball. Why would it be anything besides
Is there
basketball?
well, let me ask you, then let's flip it. Is there any number? I mean, you got, Signetti now,
Yeah.
but like, is there any number of football national championships that are like, would you trade, what's the reverse? Like,
Yeah.
if you could get one football natty, like, what is that worth? Is it worth anything?
I mean, I would, even for Indiana to make the college playoffs this year, it was such an anomaly that I was more confused than I was proud. Now, what I'm proud of is that IU lost to two teams this year and they both played in the national championship.
There you go.
And that will never be a sentence I can say again, I'm sure, in my life. So, no, I would say, Justin, you probably feel the same of like, for some reason, the national championship in college basketball is so high up here that it's just kind of like I don't care. They could win even the women's the women's team for IU has gotten really good in the past couple of years. And like, I'd rather the women's team win like the NCAA than the men's college team, like win the national, like for
In
college football equivalent.
yeah.
Yeah. So it's just embedded in me where I'm like, nope, they have to win. Like
sure.
if they aren't, they have to win every time.
Yeah. I'd say Kentucky and Indiana are just
They're
basketball states.
Yeah.
just in
right.
general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a whole different thing. I actually, like, growing up, I would have said, now I remember in 94 when Florida got to the Final Four for the first time. I remember, like, I would have been 10 when that happened. So about the same age as my son. And I remember, like, watching Donyell Marshall miss free throws for UConn in the Elite Eight and being like, and so, like, I did start to like basketball at a pretty early age. But still, it's still like it's football. But I think, like, for Florida, like, it's always going to be football up here, but basketball is, like, it's like here now.
I mean, in the past 20 years, you've won 3 national championships in basketball. So,
Which is wild.
And I mean, since 2000, you've gone to at least 4 national championship games, made multiple Final Fours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Pretty good. I feel like if I was 10, I don't know how I would have reacted to my dad taking me to that game. I think I would have been more in tune with how excited my dad was with everything. How do you feel like your oldest son reacted to the entire experience?
Yeah, it's a really good question, because that just, like, for me when I was a kid, just wasn't really on the table. Like, that just wasn't, and I'm not saying, like, I was upset about it, just, like, wasn't even in, like, the realm of possibility.
Yeah. Same.
So, like, we went to several. Now, we did go to, like, the closest thing that I could compare it to is, like, I grew up in Jacksonville and around Florida, and so we did go to several, like, Florida home games. We went to, like, several Jacksonville Jaguar games once they, became a franchise. And so that's always fun. But yeah, for thinking about how my son reacted to it and enjoyed it, I mean, I'm sure he did, like, take a lot of my energy. And, like, it was interesting, like, I really wanted him to appreciate it without making it sound like, hey, you better really appreciate this.
Right? Yeah.
And, like, so the only thing that I really said to him was like, one, this is a cool thing that we get to do. You also need to say thank you to your mom for, like, supporting that we can go, because, again, like, we talked about this kind of in the pre-show, like, it's not easy to just, like, be gone, because there are 3 other kids, the 3 youngest kids who, like, need the most care. Like, it's not a big help for me to take you.
Yeah.
You're the easiest and you help the most. It's
Yeah.
actually hindering in some ways.
Yep.
And the other thing that I impressed upon him, and actually one of my best friends who I went on the trip with, a fellow Nashvilleian, is, like, this is, like, a really, like, special thing to be able to see. Like, it's hard to win 6 games in the tournament. It's hard to do these things. And, you're 10 and you may feel like this is awesome. This happens all the time. It does not. We haven't been, like, this good in a decade, and it may not be in a couple of years. Todd Golden's going to go to the NBA, and then, like, who knows if we're going to be good for another 10 years. So, like, just appreciate it. And I think, he's a very, I think, like, now he's my oldest, so I can't really tell with the other ones yet, but he's a very, like, emotionally attuned child. And so, like, he does a good job of, like, giving hugs and saying thank you and being like, this is awesome. Like, he's really good at that.
That's awesome. Now it's a weird thing because, like, I'm a Pacers fan also. And
there we go.
Pacers are 1 win away from going to the NBA Finals at the time of recording. And the last time they were even in the finals was 2000. And so, like, it's hard, even, like, for my own self. I'm like, Devin, this is, like, the second time in your lifetime they've been this close to making it to this one game. And then you're trying to explain, like, to a 10-year-old who, whenever they play games. You're like, hey, it's just a game. But then you're like, by the way, this is more than just a game. Right. So like, there's so many things you're trying to balance of explanation of like, I'm very excited. Also, it's just a game, but also it's a game, but also I'm very excited. Right. Yeah. And my kids at home are now just like, oh, we want the gold team to win, right? It's like, yes, you want the gold team to win, not the blue. Well, the Pacers have a shade. It's a different shade of blue. So you cheer for the Hicks. Okay. That's what you do in this series.
That's
kids.
all you need.
So Justin, what's I know you've mentioned before that. So Justin has a 3-year-old and like a 7-month-old, right? Yes. So you've mentioned before that like you would love to take Ada to games and stuff like that, but she's so like shy about things. If you could choose one sporting event to take Ada to, what type of sporting event would you do?
It would be a UK basketball game for sure. But I know for a fact that she would not like it one bit. I, I can't remember if we had a podcast after the second board ceremony. I should have sent you a picture. This was her. She at least dressed for. She does karate at daycare, Matt. Every Monday they have a karate instructor that comes in, teaches them about balance and discipline and all of that. And after the session, they do a board ceremony where they either punch or kick a board and they change into their new belt. She didn't participate in the first one at all. Like sat on the ground, didn't even dress for it, didn't want to participate in anything. And it was and then we were like, well, maybe it was just because me and Haley, my wife, were there. She shut down because we were there. Second time around, we got there late on purpose. And as soon as we walked in, the director was just like, it's not you guys. It's just, so she knew right off the bat. So I have pictures where she's just holding her ears during the belt ceremony, just not having anything. And just like, well, when she's in big crowds, she shuts down. Like UK basketball games are so loud, so rowdy that I think she would just like go into pure panic mode if I brought her to one of those. But maybe as she grows out of it and she gets older. But I think at this point, not so much. I know that your friends Tyler and Bennett,
Yeah.
I think around 2 or 3 started taking their kids to
Reds games. Yeah.
It's pretty cool. That
But
might
also,
be a little bit.
yeah, baseball is a much more open stadium as opposed to an enclosed space with like 10,000 people all screaming, I want to murder that ref at the same time, you know?
Yep. Welcome to UK basketball right there.
Especially, was it 20 at Rupp? 20K, 20,000 people at least?
For the arena?
I think it's 24.
Yeah.
24,000.
Yeah. It's just Rupp and everything else.
It is rowdy, and I love it.
It's awesome. No, I think, Matt, it is so much fun. My oldest is 9, so I have a 9 and 7-year-old daughter and a 3-year-old son. And like to watch how your oldest can like process the world is such a cool thing to be able to do because, I mean, the 9-year-old interpretation of thing and the 3-year-old interpretation of thing are drastically different because their brains are just so much differently developed. And it's with your 4 kids, I'm sure you're constantly being like, all right, am I saying this so the 3-year-old can understand it or so the 10-year-old can understand it? And learning how to code switch, whatever you want to call it, between all 4 kids is like tiring sometimes by the end of the day.
Yeah, I can definitely feel that way. But then this kind of goes into like when you think about like maybe writing or communicating with anyone, especially when you're like talking on the internet, is like what is the simplest way that I can put this that multiple people can understand? And so like I kind of do maybe not default to 3-year-old speak because that's like a little, that's a little too low. But that like 6-year-old talk, you can talk to a 6-year-old about something and explain it. And I think about this even when I'm like teaching or coaching online. If someone kind of looks at you and they're like, a 6-year-old will give you that look all the time. You're like, okay, I got to simplify this. Got to say it a little different. Got to say it a little differently.
That's awesome. What's your full-time job?
So I'm a content creator and I also have a marketing agency. The content creation is probably the main thing. And so I have a YouTube channel. I have a email newsletter. I have a community of content creators that I coach and teach in their own content, businesses. And then I also, I say agency, it's just me and a couple contractors. I should use a different word, but I help, I help other creators who maybe their main thing is YouTube or podcast or whatever, either run their newsletter, their email, their course launches. So I kind of like split up my revenue between those two things. But I've been doing it for this is 5 years now. So I
Nice.
worked at I worked at a couple of creator focused startups. One is called ConvertKit. I guess it's called Kit now, but it's an email marketing platform. So I worked there and one other place called Podia, basically for like 6 or 7 years between those two, and then I started out on my own.
Sweet. I had some friends who in Nashville did Made In Network. And like, I remember when they started that being like, I didn't know YouTube made money. So all of this world of like content creation, even as we're podcast creators, how many revenue streams, how much you can do with it is still something where every day I feel like I learn something new. And by the time I learn it, it's already changed. So
yeah, it does change pretty consistent. I'd say like the newsletter thing, surprisingly, I guess surprisingly based on when I started, has been the most consistent in terms of not just engagement but also revenue. Now
okay.
it's like top of funnel, mid funnel, end of funnel where they buy. But yeah, top of funnel is like the YouTube channel, and then people sign up to the newsletter. But like if I was like to have a course or a coaching offer, or whatever, if I have something to sell, I can have like the exact same thing posted on the YouTube channel, which has like over 100,000 subscribers. And then I'll send a specific email about it to like 10 or 15,000 people. And even though it's, still a lot of people, it's a small percentage of the YouTube audience, the newsletter will far outperform the YouTube video, even though it's to a smaller audience.
Yeah.
Just that having that target and having that presence in the inbox is critical.
What kind of information or content is on the newsletter?
So I actually have 3 newsletters.
Nice.
But yeah, that send weekly. The one that I've been doing the longest, I actually was just counting it up because I was working on it before this call. I've been writing it since this is the 6th year of the newsletter. I started writing it in 2019. So it's over, I think this is tomorrow will be edition episode whatever 222 or 223.
Nice.
And so the information on that has like shifted a little over time, but usually I'm talking about productivity, personal development, goal setting, habits, things like that. I really focus also on like for the YouTube channel, and a lot of the newsletter stuff is focused on more like pen and paper productivity, like writing things down and doing them versus like having a bunch of different apps and tools that you set up. And I do use a lot of apps and tools, but I found like a good, unique perspective for me, especially online, is to talk more about the analog ways than the latest app. And so then I have more of like a very specific productivity newsletter and one that's about content creation also.
And I saw that you like to use notepads as well.
Big Field Notes fan. This is my
Nice.
edition ever. I wish they would re-release it. I would buy like 20 of them. But yeah, Field Notes.
So many. I have like a stack of this many that I just keep, and it's just random stuff, drawings that I do, sketches that I do, and then just other random stuff. But yeah, if I did not have that, I would be lost.
Yeah.
I have to write things down.
I'm a big pen and paper fan.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's really what the majority of like my YouTube content especially is about. And that's where I get the most attention. I get the most people asking about stuff. Even if I'm at a conference a couple of weeks ago and I'm taking like these little, you mentioned sketching, like these little like sketch notes, and people like lean over and I'm like, hey, what are you doing there? That looks really cool. Like, and they're not even like super fancy things, just like, having something like that.
Yeah. Here's my
right
brain.
there. Yeah. And so a lot of times, and this is like a little bit related to work stuff, but like, being able to have a unique angle on like communicating something has been a big part of my career also. And like having those, I'll take those notes, I'll post them online, I'll tag the speaker or like an author's book that I read, I made some notes on. I got a lot of practice like at like doing them at church like early on. I would just like sketch note the sermons and people will reach out. I've literally gotten jobs because I've made an initial connection with someone because I like basically drew a stick figure of them, to put it simply. And they're like, "Oh, you do other stuff too?" I was like, "Yeah, and you should hire me." And it's like, "All right, to do the other things."
Yeah. The stuff that like people normally pay me to do, not these sketches I do to make sure I'm paying attention to what you're saying.
Yeah. Yep.
That's all. How's most people I know who do a lot of stuff in writing or do stuff analog is because it makes them more like mentally present. Is that part of it for you as it does help with your mental presence?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this is something I talk about on the channel quite often, and like advice that I give others. Like I love digital tools because of the flexibility, the storage, the search, like, the collaboration, obviously. But I've noticed even the tools that I like and even the ones that I like try very intentionally to like curate the experience so they're pretty distraction free. They're kind of built to still be distracting because they want you to stay on the app. And I'm not even talking about social media. I'm talking about helpful tools like Notion. It's like, hey, we want you to hang out here. We want our, especially because I worked in tech, I'm like, we want our monthly active users to stay up. And we
Yep.
also want our session duration to go up because then we can show our investors that have given us $1 billion that they should give us another $1 billion.
Correct.
And so if I don't use task managers, digital task managers really anymore. I'll still do like the work inside of Notion. Like if I'm writing a newsletter, I'm not going to handwrite it. I'm not Wendell but yeah, I'll write everything in there, but I have to write everything down in the notebook. And if it's not written down in the notebook, it shouldn't be getting done or like anything else because it is that presence that even if I'm writing something down and then it already exists, this was like kind of a switch that flipped for me a few years ago, where if I had already like put something in, like my work tasks that like my manager was looking at or something, or other people on the team was like, "Hey, what's Matt working on?" Like I would still put things into like a collaborative task manager. And if I had done that in the past and not written it down, and if I had done that in the past, then I wouldn't write it down. Then I realized when I still wrote it down, even though it felt repetitive, that was kind of the secret in a way
Yep.
because it did make me more focused. It kind of made it more real in my mind.
That makes sense. Do you have like my wife has a massive like physical planner that she does for her like week to week life. Do you have one of those also?
No, no, no,
Okay.
no. That I think is, not to make generalizations. I think that is mostly a wife, female
It is.
feature.
Yep.
Is my wife has a massive one as well. It's like it's not quite the size of this hat show print
No.
poster, but
Yeah.
it feels that way when I see it on the table. I'm like, here we go. It's like opening, your grandparents' family Bible. Like,
Yes.
here we go.
Yeah.
Let's go to today.
Yep.
So now I am primarily like a bullet journal.
Okay.
Leuchtturm, 1917, Leuchtturm man.
Okay.
But that is like for the like primary planner. And then as Justin and I have already noted,
Yes.
I'm a big like field notes back pocket, just like carrying that around.
That's awesome. Have you gotten any of your kids to write down notes or anything like that? Are you trying to pass that trait on to any of them yet?
Yeah, they're working on it. I do like I get sent a lot of journals. I've
Okay.
actually like stopped telling like brands to say I was like, I've got plenty of these. I'm probably not going to use it, so
Yeah.
like you don't have to, which
Well,
is kind of a bummer.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. I've got
Justin's
some
looking
stuff.
for him.
I'll send it over to you. So I hand some of those off to the kids. One thing that I saw recently that that like just gave me such joy is my 6-year-old, who is definitely the artist of the bunch. And 10-year-old is good too. I think all kids are artists, and then it gets like worked out of them one way or another. But the 6-year-old is more of the artist. And one of the things that I saw him do is like he had this like giant stack of books on the desk, and he had like precariously positioned a phone over it so that he could, like I do, take an overhead shot of the art that he was working on.
cool.
And then like I've seen him kind of do this before. I was like, "Oh, that's sweet." And then my wife was like, "You got to watch this because recently now he's been doing and this is yeah, well, I'll come back to the other point. He will like record and he'll like walk people through the art that he's doing. So he's like, and so I like heard him on the recording be like, "Hi everyone, now I'm going to show you how to make this origami box. First thing you're going to do is fold it here." And he watches a lot of these like art tutorials.
Yes.
But one of the things that is like nice about working from home, and I haven't always worked from home, which is another thing we could talk about. Even like working for myself, I have rented an office several years. Gladly pay extra money if convenient to leave.
Yep.
But now that I've been working from home more, like my kid, the door is locked a lot of the times, but they'll come in and they'll see me, especially if like I'm recording a video and it just is going to be a voiceover. So I don't have like, it doesn't matter if they come in and talk to me because I'm like, I only want the video, not the audio. And so like, I'll like have a rig where it's camera down and I know he's seen me do this and I'm like talking through like, okay, don't forget to do this. And like, this is the part where I'm basically coaching myself through the voiceover while I'm doing it, but he doesn't know that. He thinks I'm explaining things. And so like to see him do that just in the past couple of days. And so I got him another like overhead. They're like $20. So I ordered him his own overhead rig so he didn't have to do the book balance.
Yeah.
And so like I got up this morning and I came back from my workout this morning and he's like at the counter and he's got this thing set up and he's like doing his art. And I was like, man, that's really cool.
That's cool. That's awesome.
What do your other kids like to do?
The 10-year-old is really big into sports, and as I was at his age, and so he loves football, basketball, even baseball to an extent, but definitely it's like, like we already talked about, it's like football, basketball, baseball. Everything else. We do our new house, we just moved a month ago. We're right across the street from a pretty good sized lake with some, some bass, some shiner, some bluegill, some carp. And so he has really gotten into fishing just in the past few weeks. So that's been fun. They all like doing that. But the other thing that the 10-year-old loves football so much that he'll want to watch like highlights. He'll just like watch anything about football on YouTube. And I don't mind that, but I don't love it either, just because like YouTube, as much as it's contributed to my life and success, there's still like a lot of things on YouTube. I'm like, I don't necessarily just want you watching like, people doing
whatever.
Whatever. Like I don't want you watching Mr. Beast videos or all the ones like it anymore. And so one of the things that we're working on this summer, because like he really likes football, like I said, and it's like, I'm going to get you I want you to start. One of the things we'll do, because they're all homeschooled, and it's like, my contribution to your homeschooling is that we're going to work on football strategy together. So I got him a couple of like books that are about like trends in offensive football. And so it's like, and it has like QR codes inside of the book. And so like, as we're looking at the diagram, we're reading the description of the play, and like what we'll do is like take out the phone, scan the QR code, and it'll go right to either a video on YouTube or a page on this guy's website where you can actually see the play happen. So when we go to games this fall, be like, I can start to be like, okay, what are we running here? Are we in cover 2, cover 3? Are we like 11 personnel? Are we doing 11 personnel or something else? So that's like a couple of ways that we're just my wife and I trying to like model a growth mindset with them. And also like, because we're homeschooling, give them like some alternative ways to explore things that they're interested in.
That's cool. I like soccer a lot, or I follow soccer quite a bit. And yeah, that's one thing that also makes you more curious too. Because like if I watch a soccer game, I'm like, okay, cool. What formation are they in? Like, and what formations are popular now? Or you can be like, okay, cool. Here's Man City. They've won the Premier League 4 years in a row. Let's talk about the formations they did for these 4 years and how the rest of the league then adapted to them. So it can really like make you love the game in different ways. And then you can make your kid think about it more cerebrally, as opposed to just like run, hit the ball. It's like, no. Right. Everyone's placement on this field is intentional.
Like get open.
Yeah, it's like, go out there, run faster than the other person. It's like, no. You see, this person moves here, you create a triangle, da-da-da-da-da. And like,
why did he stop covering that guy? It's like, well, is it middle of field open, middle of field closed? We got to know.
Yep.
We got to know what, not even cover two, but what kind of cover two are we running?
It boggles my mind about soccer and all of the rules and regulations and all that stuff.
It's
I still cannot follow
but
it.
it's similar to like, are you running like, are you doing a cover two defense? Are you doing man to man? Like, are you blitzing? Yeah. Like, is the corner? How do you know if the corner is going to blitz on this play or not? Like, whenever you start to realize like everyone's body language is giving a sign to what's going to happen next, and if you can teach that to your like, in my 30s, I learned that. If I would have known that at like 10 or 12, I might have actually been a decent athlete. Who knows?
Like, when you think about. So to tell you about my other two kids real quick, the 3-year-old, I think I have to make sure I don't say this too loudly. The 3-year-old, might be the best athlete of the bunch.
Okay.
Like it's pretty, like they're all pretty coordinated, which I'm grateful for. But the 3-year-old, he like, I noticed this was around when he was 2, because we will watch baseball. I love watching baseball because it's probably the best casual watch, even at home. It's just like nothing's happening for a couple of minutes. Great. I can't watch for a couple of minutes, but it's just, it's on. It's nice chill to watch. And I noticed that like him at 2 would just like sit on the couch and be like, baseball. And would just like sit there and not move, like he was watching, a cartoon or something. And we would start playing, and pretty quickly after I gave him even like, those little tykes, bat and ball, he would just start ripping line drives, and he can really hit the ball. Like, and has a, like, if he would stop pulling the front leg out, and if he would stop pulling the front leg out and actually like step towards the pitcher, he would really be crushing it. But if you throw him outside right now, he's going to strike out every time. For God's sakes, don't give him an inside fastball. He'll put it over the fence. But to like see that he has that kind of coordination, and he also like, my uncle was a semi-pro golfer, and he's a golf pro now. And so we've got, I wouldn't say I'm good at golf, but we do have like some golf in the family. But like, and so I play, semi-regularly, and play enough that like I have clubs and I use them, and my kids wanted to do the same. And so I got them a couple of junior clubs. And the 2.5-year-old at the time, like, grabbed a club that was still a little too big for him, like stood over a ball, and it went chunk and like really crushed it. And we're like, well, that doesn't normally happen. And even like as he kept like swinging a little bit, one of my buddies who played at Florida, good golfer, like came over. This was when we were in Nashville. He's like, yeah, that's not normal. So you should probably get that checked in a good way.
Yeah.
Probably cultivate that a little bit.
You got a prodigy on your hands.
Yeah. So we'll see if you see a Ragland on the tour in like, I guess in like 20 years, and be like, you know what, Matt said something about that.
That is one of the coolest things ever. Whenever you start to realize with your kids, like their natural gifting, where you're like,
might have something.
I didn't teach them that. And that's like, oh, they're just naturally good at this. And then you're like, oh, that's so like, for whenever they're in like the newborn phase or like less than 2, there's so much like you're just trying to keep them alive. So whenever they start to show a characteristic of like, hey, this dude's really good, like hand-eye coordination, just making good contact. You're like, oh, I didn't have to teach that. Whenever you get to switch from survival, how to keep this kid alive, to how do I nurture this kid, is such a fun switch. It's so nice.
Yeah, it is really nice. Yeah, we're definitely in that stage with the 10-year-old and the 6-year-old, 6.5-year-old. The 3-year-old is starting to make that transition. And then, like I said, we're still very much in the like stay alive, stay happy, stay fed phase with baby girl.
Yeah, I'm right there with you with baby boy.
Yeah,
I mean, you can see the bags underneath my eyes, and I'm about to fall asleep right now. It is exhausting, but it's like just being able to see his face and the smiles on his face. I love it.
Yeah. It's fantastic. Yeah, the amount of coffee is just staggering.
It is
right now.
It is.
I was at New Year's Eve party earlier this year. Around New Year's is when I was at the New Year's Eve party, and I was like, I was like, hey, I was like, can I make some coffee? And they're like, it's 8. I was like, well, and this wasn't even a party where we're staying. Like, it was a kid friendly party. So like we do the ball drop at like at 8. And so and so I was like, they're like, it's 8. Everyone's going to bed soon. I was like, when will you be able to fall asleep if you have coffee like at 7 or 8 or whatever? I was like, probably 10.
Yeah.
This is just to keep me awake
Yeah.
until I can fall asleep at a normal time. And they're like, oh, I can't do that. I was like, well, I don't know what that says about either one of us.
Yep.
I'm perfectly willing to accept that it's not the healthiest thing.
No.
But this is just the life that I have right now.
Yeah. They're like, do you need decaf? And you're like, no, I'm actually drinking coffee to guarantee I safely drive home after this get together at like 8:30.
Yeah, I was at Buc-ee's. A couple of several months ago, and I saw like at the thing, like, and I'm not a smoker or a dipper or anything like that. But I did see like at the counter that I don't even know if I want to admit to this. At the counter, they had like these like coffee pouches.
Yeah.
It's like, it's like the Zen pouches, but it's just coffee. I'm like, yeah, I'll try that because I don't always want to drink a lot of coffee. And so people seeing like my wife's like, it looks like you're dipping. I was like, I'm not dipping. This is the coffee. It just, it helps, makes me feel better. I don't know what to tell you.
That's a dangerous path.
It is. It's the gateway drug.
It is the gateway drug.
Actual drugs.
Yeah.
We had a operations manager in Florida that was in the Army, and he had talked about when they were like out on deployment, they would take the ground coffee and tuck it under their lips like it was dip.
Like snuff or
Yeah.
You're like, we would do whatever we had to, man, because we were out in the field for like 24 hours and you had to stay away.
Can't imagine. Good Lord.
Before we wrap up, I do want to ask you about, I know you just moved back to Florida, right? Do you want to talk about like what motivated you to move back to Florida and all of the energy that's gone into your move from Nashville to Florida?
Yeah, it has been a lot of energy and a lot of money.
Yeah.
I definitely did not, I wouldn't say that I didn't budget well because like I did, but like the budget just grew more than I thought. Like I would say like if anyone's thinking about moving across states with lots of kids, like it's going to end up being like, with like 10 grand to like move. And now the majority of that is the moving service. And could I have done my own move? Yes. Could I have also been like miserable and angry and like risk divorce from my wife? Yes. I could also do all of those things. And I have in the past, but so there was a lot of energy that went into it. We actually, 2 years ago, when our now 3-year-old had just turned 1, we were actually thinking about moving back in 2023. And we looked at houses, and we just decided at the time that we weren't ready to leave Nashville because we love Nashville. Nashville is my favorite place that I've ever lived. And that's still true. But for us, when we had the 4th child, when we had a girl, we just eventually came, and this was not initially because she's a year, but around the beginning of the year, we were just talking more and more about, what are the goals that we have as a family and what's important to us and what are our values. And there were 3 that came to mind first and foremost. One is that, and I guess it's kind of like 1A, depending on how you want to order them. But one is that my wife wants to be able to be a stay-at-home mom. She wants to be with the kids as much as she can, especially while the young ones are very young, like the 1 and the 3-year-old. And related to that, we also want to homeschool, which I've mentioned a couple of times. And so when we're doing that, and what I do working for myself, it's, we talk a lot, you hear a lot about passive income when it comes to internet work. And you think that like, well, if you have an audience and you have something to offer, all you have to do is like put things out there and you'll just make money and you'll make a lot of it. And I definitely do pretty well, but it takes a lot of work.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of effort. And I would also say, I think I mentioned this earlier, the majority of my month-to-month revenue is working with clients. And so that is like output, that's work, that's calls, that's deliverables, that's deadlines. And so for Morgan to be at home and for me to be the like sole income bringer inner, requires me to like be really focused on that. And at times, like especially if I'm working on a big launch for a client, that I was like, hey, over the next week, it's not going to be just ish hours. It's going to be like 50, maybe 60 hours. And so there had been there had been a few too many of those like weeks and experiences, even though I do try and like keep the work life pretty balanced, where my wife, I was saying, hey, I need a little bit more help, and like more help than I know you're able to give based on what what your literal job is and what your job is in this family. And so my wife and I had a lot of, I thought, really good, clear communication about it. And like I said, this has been a conversation for 2 years. It just ramped up more about 6 months ago. And my parents are here. My brother, one of my brothers and one of my sisters is here. And so to be able to have family support, to be able to have my mom come over and like just help for even a couple hours is huge. And so that those were the big reasons that we wanted to have Morgan be able to stay at home. We wanted to be able to homeschool, and we also wanted to be able to have help so that I could protect the time that I need to earn what I need to support the family. And so those are the big things. Another like element of it is that I'm traveling more this year for work. And yeah, I was mentioning to you, Devin, but in the pre-show is like, not starting next week, I'm going to be gone like 7 out of 10 days. I was like, well, I don't really want to be here to be like solo at home for 7 out of 10 days with like no help and no release valve.
Yep.
Yeah.
That amount of time. I was like, yeah, no, I get it.
Yeah. And also like you do look at like the structure of what you want. And like that's not realistic to put your wife in that position and be like, hey, I'm just gonna to make our life be here, I'm gonna be gone for 7 days and you have to figure this out. Is not that you're communicating that, but I would feel like I was communicating that to my partner if that's how it.
Yeah, and a lot of this also was, this is like my wife was very involved obviously in these decisions also because like she's a nurse, and so like she can go work. She there are plenty of jobs available for a nurse, but for us, we could technically earn more by her working, not as much as you would think initially with the cost of like daycare and other things like that, but we didn't want to right now send our kids to school, and we wanted her, like I said, going back to the stay at home piece. And so we're like, okay, where's the best situation for us to have help, for us to like be flexible? It was Florida, where we
Yep.
are now.
Yep. Now I'm a stay-at-home dad. My two older kids are in school, and I stay home with our 3-year-old. And yeah, that's the constant conversation my wife and I have. It's like, okay, this is a good situation now in which she's the sole income maker or breadwinner or whatever, and I stay home. But there's always the opportunity for me to go back to work. It's just, what's your value system? What are you trying to build as a family? And there's going to be sacrifices you make in whatever decisions you make. So if you can make them in a way in which builds a family structure you want, hey, it's nice to be able to do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a blessing to be able to make the decisions and choices in life that we've been able to. Yes, there's been a lot of work and a lot of patience and a lot of delayed gratification that have gone into being able to make those decisions. But yeah, definitely very fortunate to have like the privilege we do of owning a lot of our location and time and relationships availability that we have with the kids.
Yep, very much so. But whenever you have two full-time working parents, it's just there's so much. I don't want to use the word negotiating, but there's just a lot of negotiating. Of hey, how do we approach this? How do we attack this? How do we make this happen?
Yeah,
Well,
for sure.
two working parents that work full time. I work at minimum 50 hours a week, and we have zero family in
Yeah,
the
that's tough.
local vicinity. Luckily, my parents are retired and are just 3.5 hours away. So, like, I got a vasectomy last Thursday. My parents came in town that Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and even Monday to help because
Yeah, that's super nice.
Haley was just like, I can't do this by
I can't do this
myself.
all by myself. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, when I would travel for when I was working for like Kit, and I'd be gone for like a week for the retreat, for the company retreat twice a year, like I would fly my mom up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, you just gotta do what you gotta do.
Pretty much.
For parents.
Yeah, so having them 5 minutes away and my brother around the corner has been super nice.
I think a lot of the times when you become a parent, you just start to realize like, hey, how do I make my day-to-day life something where
it's challenging enough.
It's challenging
Where can I
enough.
sand off the edges?
And like as you were kind of hinting at earlier with with the move and everything, like every single day I want to be a decent person. How do I make sure I have enough energy to be a decent person every single day? Because it takes work to be good to people. And I would rather not be spending all my time figuring out how to calm myself down because I feel so overstimulated and stretched thin. How do I make this situation better for everyone?
Yep, absolutely.
That's the age-old question right there, Devin.
How do I be a decent person? Yeah, I mean, me specifically?
And not be overstimulated and
stretched
exhausted from that.
Yep. It's hard, man.
Having some margin in your life.
It's a gift when you got it, and you always just got to be appreciative that you do.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Matt, how we end every episode is we ask every guest a series of 5 questions. And it's not rapid fire. You have time to think about it. And Justin will ask the first question whenever he has it pulled up.
All right. Did you have any backup names for your kids?
Yeah, Kanan, Kanan the oldest. A couple of the backup names. We had Levi for one, and then we had Forrest for another. Woods was another. So those are the 3 that come to mind. We only had we knew Kanan's boy name was going to be Kanan, but his girl name was Evangeline.
Okay.
So but by the time we got to baby girl, 8 years later, that we were no longer interested in that name.
Was it after choosing 3 boy names, was it hard for you guys to choose a girl name, or were you both just kind of like, oh, this is the one we've been waiting to use?
Yeah, I didn't feel like it was that hard. We kind of settled in. Her name is Hallelujah, and we call her Hallie.
Hallie, that's cute.
So we were kind of settled in on that one.
That's awesome. All right.
Man, that's a unique name right there. That's pretty cool.
That's cool. Next question. Do you have a favorite TV or movie dad?
I have to think about it a little more. I mean, my go-to answer has been Coach Taylor in Friday Night Lights.
It's a good one.
He's a good one. He's the easiest one. He's the easiest one to go to. You have to think about that a little more.
We had someone say for Coach Taylor, like, he's not only the best TV dad, he's the best TV husband also, because he's such a good TV husband too.
Yeah, he really is. And the thing that I like and appreciate, if I was to restart that, is for me, it's Coach Taylor from Friday Night Lights. And what I like about him, like you were saying, he's not just a good dad, but a good husband, but he has so many very solid dad qualities. And this has been like something that has frustrated me about TV portrayals of dads for years, is that they've usually just been kind of a dope, at least or someone they're either aloof, angry, or kind of an idiot that you have to work your way around. Even if they're a lovable idiot, Phil in Modern Family is just, he's hilarious and I love, but he's kind of a dope, and his wife Claire runs the show, and so I like how, I can't remember Mrs. Taylor, Connie Britton, easy to remember her name, but Kyle Chandler and Connie Britton do such a good job of showing a healthy marriage on TV as well. So they're definitely the go-to couple in terms of my vote.
Yep, cool. We'll take it.
Yeah. Next question: do you have a go-to replacement curse word, or do you just say whatever?
I usually just go with shoot.
Okay.
Yeah. It would be lying to say that I don't curse around the kids.
It's hard not to sometimes.
It's hard not to. The one that I've been adopting a little bit more, I read a pretty good amount of fantasy sci-fi. I just kind of stopped reading self-improvement books a few years ago. I was kind of like, all right, I get it. And I don't need to read these anymore. But there's a long fantasy series called The Stormlight Archive by Brandon Sanderson.
Yeah.
And so their curse word is storms. So it's like storms or like storming man. And so like I'll say that a little bit. And then another one that I'll say is like Merciful Telu, which is from The Name of the Wind, another
Okay.
like incredible book, incredible fantasy book. But Telu is like the god character in
Okay.
that, and so the people will say like instead of like God have mercy, Lord of mercy, they'll say like merciful Telu, and so like that's something. Those are kind of the two like fantasy cussing.
That's awesome. Next question: do you have a favorite kids' toy or activity, or something you like to do with your kids?
And we do, like I mentioned, probably the most recent one is we've all gotten into fishing. Like, and I've
Yeah.
fished a bunch when I was a kid, but I haven't done it as much. My wife's not like into fishing, and it was never a thing that I was like, I'm gonna take a couple hours away from hanging out with you to go fishing, like because I didn't care about fishing that much. But now the kids are into it. Like everyone is like kind of a community event because a bunch like everybody comes out golden hour post dinner, throw some lines in, catch up. And so now all of a sudden I did not expect when we moved here that literally everyone would have a rod and reel within the first month, including
cool.
the 3-year-old.
That's
But here we are. So that's something I've really enjoyed with them.
That's cool.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
Last question. Best parenting advice you have received over the years?
Yeah, it sounds so simple, I guess, but it's just really focus on being present with your kids. And I'm sure other people have said that, but I think it bears repeating and remembering because for me, as like I get more and more like distracted, and it's easy when you work from home, just like pop into the office or like check my phone for something, and really making sure that I'm like not just being present with them, but this is something I learned when I was working at summer camps, is like get on their level as well. Because I'm not a huge guy, but I'm like maybe a little bit bigger than the average person, which is huge to a kid. And so like even as I'm talking to them, I'll really like try and remember is like, get hands on the knees, get down a little bit, like maybe go all the way down to one knee, just so that we can look each other in the eye. Especially like when I have my mustache, super intimidating, obviously, when I have my mustache. And so like, try and get down and like not freak them out too much. But being able to like do that, and I guess like one little more specific thing with that is I do like to get up early. I like to get up early and work or work out. But one of the things that I started to do is like when I would first hear one of the kids waking up, even if I felt like I was cheating a little bit, I would switch to doing something I would switch away from the screen and do something that was more like analog and real, that they would like catch me like coming down as like, oh, dad's reading or dad's like writing something down, or maybe dad's just cooking breakfast. But I didn't want it to come down and be like, dad's looking at the screen. And I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with that. But when I think about what I want to be emulating for them, and there are lots of days that I am just reading the whole time, or I am like journaling or something, but I try and make a point that what's the first interaction that my kids are having with me in the morning? It's me doing something that I would want them to emulate, because they don't know if I'm looking at my computer and I'm writing. They don't know that. They just know that I could, what do they use a screen for? It's watching, YouTube or playing games. And so I want them to see me like, oh, dad's reading a book. Oh, dad's writing in his journal. So that's another like little thing that I try and keep in mind.
Yeah. I mean, you've kind of already mentioned it, or you seem in tune with the fact that like your kids are always watching and they will emulate whatever you do. So you just are more aware of your habits. And even with your son, like taking videos and directions and stuff, it's like, oh, cool. It's hard to be self-aware enough to realize how much your kids are paying attention. So whenever you notice the moments, you got to take them seriously.
Yep, absolutely.
And only other thing for you, just a moment for self-promotion. So if we want to like follow your YouTube channel, you on Instagram, do some self-promotion. How do we find you? All that good stuff.
Yeah, check out the YouTube channel would be the best thing. So it's youtube.com/Matt Ragland, or you can just search for Matt Ragland. I do write an occasional dad newsletter on Substack. It's been a few months, so don't get too excited. In fact, I'm not even quite sure. I think I'm changing the name of it, so I can't even like really give you the right URL for it.
Fantastic.
But just search for Matt Ragland, I guess, on Substack if you want some more dad thoughts. Right now it's called Father Fire, but I don't really like that anymore. And so I'm probably going to change it. But yeah, I'll share the link with you because I am working on a new essay there.
Yep. I tried Substack for a little bit where I'd do like, hey, here's just some extra thoughts on like the interview we posted this week, and like did it for like a month and then got out of the rhythm. And I'm like, maybe I'll get back to it. So the starting a Substack because everyone else is starting a Substack and then forgetting you have a Substack, relatable.
Yeah, for sure.
So, but yeah, man, that's all we got. Thanks a lot for your time. Thanks for hanging out with us for a bit. And
yeah, pleasure.
Yeah, of course.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it, Matt. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you for listening to the episode.
Make sure to follow us on Instagram at The Imperfect Dads Podcast.
And make sure to subscribe and rate us 5 stars wherever you listen to us.
The music is provided by the Wildfeathers.
And all episodes are produced and edited by me.
Make sure to tune in Mondays for new episodes.